Hello and welcome back to the Nordic Championship. I'm still Hillerød and he's still Orcs. And that first game, there was a lot to talk about. There wasn't a lot that happened, but there is a lot to talk about in that game. It was just a very clean and controlled game coming out from the side of, I've already forgotten their name, Vipers. A complete brain fart there.
And I think this sets precedent for both sides, because I think Dusty have looked like a successful team who are underperforming. And I think Vipers have looked like a team who are clearing up on the weaker rosters, especially their week one up against Hillerød and Orlando. I sort of like, okay, they're 2-0, but you know, was that the hardest 2-0? I think at this point, with them beating Dusty in that manner as well, I think we can safely say they're very deserving of their score. It looked controlled. Obviously, there were still moments where it potentially looked concerning, and there were also moments where Dusty made mistakes that were technically unforced. But I think they definitely look formidable, and tomorrow they'll be up against Singularity with the opportunity to challenge, to at least tie for first. But if Singularity lose tonight, they have the opportunity to just claim first place. So big prospects for Dusty. They didn't fall over the finish line because they didn't even get to the finish line. So I think there's a lot to sort of look at there. Obviously, still talented individuals. We've seen a lot from them so far. But that game was not for them. I think Quinston's had a very rough one. I think the Herald usage made not the best, but quickly flying into our next matchup with Hillerød against Nordavind. So Nordavind, they're a team who have not had the greatest start. They are running with Advian. So we saw them running with Svene on their day ones for the past 2 weeks. So they have their full roster they want to play with here. And up against Hillerød, who also didn't have the greatest start, but they did bounce back. They had a good matchup against Dusty, and they started to look... I mean, that one was close, but they started to look like they can offer a little bit more.
Nordavind need to start turning this on here, because we hit on how they were one of the strongest looking teams we fought here in the league, and they have just fallen so far from the mark here, currently sitting at 1 and 3 in the standings. They are at the bottom of the barrel, and they have a long way to climb to get back into this game. But we're rattling through picks and bans while we're rattling on. It's going to be the Elise, the Gragas, the Jarvan, and the Soroka banned away so far. Hillerød looking for their final ban as they take away the Syndra.
A lot of power, well, a lot of jungle picks banned away. So the high tier junglers, there's still Lee Sin left available. And especially with Gragas taking off the cards, that puts that even higher in priority, because that's usually picked as a counter into that. We do know Flipper plays it. We know Aesthetic plays it. So that could definitely be on the cards. Sejuani's risen in priority this patch. We've seen in competitive. But for now, they're going to take that Ornn for Lockidon. Something that he has leaned on really heavily. And I think last game they played up against Singularity, we saw Lockidon almost get dismantled in the top lane. We saw Nearly play Aurelia into his Yorick, and he just ran over the game. He was so far ahead. He was 8k gold up at one point. He just 1v9'd the game, and I think having Lockidon on Braum puts him in a good position. But the unfortunate thing is that now hands over Nordavind. They pick up Aphelios, who is the only 80 carry, I'd say, pretty much untouched out of the top 3, because that nerf to his Calibrum really doesn't do much at all. And then Braum, which stops the Ornn engage and also works very well in tandem with Chrisberg's Aphelios. So I feel like in this situation, Hillerød have drafted how they have to. They needed that Ornn for Lockidon, so he's on a comfortable matchup.
Yeah.
But it's meant that Nordavind have gotten off a really powerful bot lane combo in response. The answer that I like the Rakan into the Braum.
Also, one of the nice things about the Braum, though, is it hard denies that engage that the Ornn offers. You put the Unbreakable up, you stop him from even getting that ram through your team, and all of a sudden, you dismantle that. So they need to look to add something else that can offer some engage. You pick up this Rakan. It's been seeing a lot of rise in priority now. Are we going to see the Xayah get locked in here for Hillerød? They actually opt into the Sejuani here. Technically a flex between mid and jungle and even bot lane.
Clear. You said Sejuani.
Oh, I don't know. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning to fly here.
The Talia here, so offers a scaling element when you might potentially be lacking damage with having the Ornn. You do remember the Ornn can be a flex towards mid, so a lot of flexible picks still available for Hillerød. And the big thing is, with jungle camps, their overall XP being buffed, this does favor the Talia. And we actually see the Set come in for Wazor. So Set got nerfed on this patch, and quite heavily. His health regen got nerfed, and then critically his W, his Haymaker, the ability that you see do all that true damage, and the one you max first, it's had its base damage nerfed, and more importantly, its cooldown.
Yeah.
And considering that's not just his main damage source, but also his survivability, that's a pretty big hit to him, which is why you're seeing him picked here and not being first picked like we saw typically in the last 2 weeks. So definitely less priority, less strength on that champion, but something Wazor is still happy to take into most likely the Ornn in the top lane.
Alrighty, well, the Lucian is going to get banned away here from Nordavind. Again, a strong flex pick. Obviously, with the Aphelios already locked in, you'd most likely expect that to be a mid lane pick. Sorry, they haven't locked an AD carry. For Hillerød, I'm having a brain fart still. Hillerød, what do they want to pick? What do they want to ban away? Where is their priority looking here, Orcs?
Well, I think Nordavind have priority in junglers, so you could work towards that. They also could potentially look towards Niter. Those are the two roles left open. This could be a set jungle. I don't think it's nearly as good as top lane, but if you did want to flex that, you could in theory. I have seen it played in solo queue. But for the most part, it's sort of hammering away at those picks that you think are going to be a massive threat. Hillerød denying Adana. We saw Niter play quite a few times, and Nordavind just hammering away at those AD carries. You could potentially put the Talia in the bot lane and then negate all of those bans. And it would set Sloth up to take something aggressive melee. He does like to play those melee mid laners, the likes of Yasuo. We'll have to see how that pans out though. Hillerød, their second ban yet to come through. They could target the Lee away from Aesthetic or potentially the Sejuani. With a Braum already, this would make extremely strong team fighting. So they do ban that one away. The double stun passives, especially with the likes of a set, really hard to deal with when you get up close to them. It makes a lot of sense to take that one away. I think if this set isn't a flex, I fully expect to see a jungle pickup here.
We'll have to see what the Nordavind want to pick up. This could still technically be a bit of a flex pick. Haven't really seen the Sylas go into the jungle for a little while, but option is still there.
I mean, it's interesting because I feel like one of the best ults to steal as a Sylas are the AP scaling tank ults.
Yeah.
Because when you steal Ornn ult, I mean, one, you have a Braum on your team to block the enemy Ornn's ult. But also, because you build AP, you have a better Ornn ult than Ornn does.
Yeah.
And it puts you in a really good position. Ooh. We do see the Yasuo come outside. I did say this is something Sloth likes to play. We could potentially see this one come out. Especially since that means if you put the Talia bot lane, you then have some AP to balance out the AD in the mid laner. Be interesting to see what else they decide to take in this draft. I think something to set up the knockup from the Yasuo would be a big one. You do already have the Rakan, but you want something to give you a strong mid-jungle matchup. Sejuani is a great one. Gragas is a great one, but they are both banned away. So instead, Hillerød going to go towards that Zac in this situation. I do think Zac is pretty good into Braum, because obviously you can dive past that wall. You can slap them together, and then you can use your ult to disrupt. Braum really doesn't offer much against that. So I think overall it makes sense given how the draft has gone altogether. We now see what Nordavind are going to offer up in response. We don't know where exactly the Sylas will be going. It's been seen mid a lot more since the changes, but it could be jungle. We'll see Pantheon come out. So I guess it's likely to be a Sylas jungle, but it could be a Pantheon jungle. It's something I haven't really seen at all since you got reworked.
Looks like it is.
I think they might swap later on.
There it is.
I expect that a lot more. I think Sylas, definitely more for a sort of assassin with how his changes came through. There's less weaving between the autos, less animation cancel, auto attack cancelling, so less bruisery. But a lot of good ults he can steal away from the other side. And once he gets going, he can really burst through these squishy targets. The Pantheon as well is a good matchup into the Yasuo. Obviously, he can't stop your stun, and then you're up in his face and you can beat on him. So I feel like Nordavind to put themselves in a position where their mid-jungle can perform well. Their bot lane should be fine because it's very difficult to pressure through a Braum as a Talia. So I think Nordavind are doing fine, but I think in the later game, you have to be really concerned about Hillerød's team fight. They have so much dive to deal with that Aphelios. And on top of that, a lot of these champions are going to struggle in the later game. Well, not a lot, but it's mostly just the Pantheon is going to be like the sore thumb as you go further on.
Yeah.
And when all items start getting handed out, when you have all the disruption afforded by Hillerød's team, I don't think you're going to want to commit to a complete 5v5 later in the game.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about this bot lane. We've got the Talia Rakan bot lane. Obviously, for a long time, if you saw Talia bot lane, it was normally paired up with the likes of the Pantheon, but recently we've seen more people flex say Talia works with most bot laners. How does this go? The Aphelios Braum versus the Rakan Talia.
I mean, it doesn't really, I'll be honest. This is a lane where it's very hard for either side to really enact any pressure. Obviously, the Rakan, if he lands his W, can set up the seismic shove for the Talia. Obviously, it's not point and click like the Pantheon, so harder to do. But even if you land it, all Braum has to do is jump in front and block with his Unbreakable, and all of Talia's damage is pretty much mitigated. I mean, you'll still get the Unraveled Earth and the Seismic Shove, but that's not really enough to one-shot Chrisberg. and her Q is going to be blocked away by the Unbreakable. So it's going to limit the damage massively. It's going to limit the burst potential. I don't expect much to happen in the bot lane unless a gank comes in from either side, or if Mokox oversteps. If the Talia oversteps, he can definitely be punished if that Braum passive starts getting applied.
Yeah.
But it's not a given, because it's not like he's going up against a Nautilus, a Leona, or a Thresh. This is a Braum whose hard engage is pretty limited. So overall, I expect this game to be a little bit slower for Hillerød. I don't think there's as much they're going to be looking to do in the early game. I do feel like Nordavind have a bit more time pressure on them. I want to see Nita get a lead in mid lane and then apply this pressure outward to the rest of the map. Pantheon is so good at doing that because of his ult. He's able to roam down to either side and set up dives, especially since Pantheon is one of the best divers in the game. He can tank turret hits if he has his passive stacked for 2.5 seconds. Puts him in a really good spot, and what I want to see is Aesthetic and Nita, the two people I've said are underperforming the most on this roster, work well in tandem to set this up. And they will actually sneak in through here, so thank you, observers, for the vision toggle. This was not seen by Sloth. They are unaware this is happening. And this is something I talked about a ton in the first 2 weeks. We've seen a lot of teams pick Braum, but not many use the power of it to invade. We see here that has been done by Nordavind.
Actually, a very, very forward position here.
Yeah, so Hillerød were trying to zone them off the wave because of that range advantage level 1. And also just the trading power of Talia, the fact that you can fire out so many rock missiles without any real counterplay coming out from Nady Carry, who has to get much closer to auto attack.
I wonder if this information's been figured out from the position that Adavante and Chrisberg moved into the lane.
It must be, 100% must be.
They must be aware, but they were playing a little bit further up for now. They are going to step back as level 2 advantage has been hit here by the Nordavind bot lane, and that allows them to zone away. Sloth versus Nita in the mid lane. This is going to be pretty rough early here for the Yasuo. As you see, you jump forward with your E, you get stunned up. Does trade back pretty effectively there. Has that Conqueror, has that knock up. Nice to be able to dodge away on that though.
So yeah, Static's been spotted out, so Flipper finds him, forces him out his jungle, and Flipper's actually up in levels, so he cleared faster in this situation. He got through 3 camps when Aesthetic only got through 2, so he has a level advantage, and that means Aesthetic isn't able to pressure Sloth here. You would expect the level 3 Silas to come in and be able to put some pressure down on this Yasuo, but not possible in this situation. You can see the Corrupting Potion stacks combined with the Conqueror. Now they're just able to put so much damage down this Yasuo, and now he has to back away, but a dive is being threatened.
He's thinking about it. He's got that ability to jump forward. The tower shots are going to come down, and Sloth.
That's a lot of damage.
The Ornn's coming in. Flipper looks to close in. They're actually closing onto Nita here. He jumps away with a stun. Has to burn his flash, though. That means Sloth should be able to catch this wave and push it up with the help of his top in his jungle.
Really love the Ornn play. What I love from Ornn's is when they're able to find priority in the lane, which he often can because of his Bellows breath, that they use that to move down and assist the rest of their team. You're an Ornn, so pushing up the tower isn't really going to do much for you. You can't harass them very easily under the tower, but you can roam in situations like that. You secure the flash of Nita, and that puts him on the back foot. He doesn't have an escape. He doesn't have a dash you can use to get out, only go in, and that means his Pantheon, and we talked about how important it was for him to get going early, he's not going to be able to do that as easily without some extra setup. Now, the wave is pushed in pretty heavily for Hillerød. This isn't a great spot to gank Nordavind's bot lane, but to me, this suggests that Flipper knows his bot lane is vulnerable, and he's waiting for a counter gank. If Aesthetic comes down here, he'll meet the Zac as well, but I feel like if you look at the side of his picture, he's very low on health. He's not really going to be looking to do this, and he's actually started his recall, so Hillerød's bot lane able to shove in, let the wave hit the tower, and then recall safely, so putting them in a pretty good position.
We do see these resets coming through. Flipper stays massively far ahead of Aesthetic at the moment. And his camps are now respawning up, so he should be able to be quite comfortably able to catch most of these waves. Wiser taking trade here with Lockerdin. Does build up some grit. Doesn't actually go for the Haymaker, though.
Well, there, just to clear out the wave. So I'm going to be spawning pretty soon. Be interesting to see if either team decides to prioritize it heavily. I'd say it's a little bit, well, no, quite a bit favored towards Hillerød right now. Because resets already come in, and vision controls start to be set up on this bot side of the jungle. You can see Ermin walked in with Flipper, got some wards down, and now Mokox is in position to catch this wave. Right now, Sloth, a little bit cautious. He knows that potentially the same thing could happen. Advian coming from a reset and working up with his jungler. And he has to respect how easy it is to set up a play for this Pantheon. No way to dodge out of that shield vault unless you have a tornado stack and time it well. Advin going to walk through. And you can see actually Flipper's been found out by Aesthetic.
Yeah, Flipper low on health, not really able to deal anything about that. So he's actually going to lose his topside jungle entirely. And that lead that he'd mounted versus Flipper, sorry, versus Aesthetic has gone away. This is a very free dive. Look how low Lockdown does have his R available. Aesthetic's coming in. Looks like Lockdown, he's just going to have to give up his life. He does have his flash, but it's not enough. First blood to Aesthetic.
That was not even a difficult dive by any means at all. He got so low trading with Wazor. It was just essentially a free pickup. Naita even walked up there, and we talked about how good the Pantheon is at dives. He wasn't needed. So Lockdown over trading there when you're playing on the weak side of the map, especially after you already saw Aesthetic push Flipper out of the jungle. He shouldn't have gone for that trade. He should have backed off. And the end result is a kill over to Aesthetic on his Silas. And a pretty big CS lead has built up in this top lane. It's about 15 right now, just as the waves meet in the middle.
It's not nice actually he clicked a minion there for that stun. He doesn't get too much damage off onto Sloth.
Yeah, a little bit for whoopsie daisy with that stun. Aesthetic was there. Potentially could set something up. But nothing will come from it in the end.
Ooh. Just go for a lot of damage and a two-man knockup. Armin's throwing out the Ignite already, and Chrisberg is burning down. One more tick, but it's going to just time out in time.
Potion's coming in clutch, but that was a misplay. No Unbreakable was available there. You don't go for those trades. You don't step up like that if you don't have the Braum Shield. We talked about how in this matchup, neither team should be able to find advantages unless one of them makes a misplay. That was a misplay from Chrisberg and Advian, but now they're potentially looking to punish here.
Yeah, Armin looks to jump away. The chains go a little bit wide. He tries to get that knock up. Advian flashes away. Moxie able to get that kill. Now Wiesel closing in, uses the ultimate. In comes the Pantheon, and a spear goes wide, but Wiesel able to punch his way through for a kill onto Armin. That's going to be a seismic shove out by Mox, but not going to get anything else here, as it looks like Nordavind, they're just going to look for that Cloud Drake.
You absolutely take that play as Hillerød. You traded 1-for-1 in the kills with so much investment from Nordavind. They burned the TP. They also had Naita burn his ultimate. Yes, they get one dragon, but dragons really don't dictate the pace of the game that much in the early levels. Completely fine. You get a play top as well for Lockdown. Considering you had TP advantage in the top lane, that was a very good play to sort of resolve doubt for Hillerød. Even though it was Nordavind who sort of set the aggression on that, didn't end up paying off. And I think a big thing was Chrisberg was chunked out. He'd gone back to base. Advian was already low. There were lots of things that sort of enabled that to be a bad play for Nordavind. And in the end, yes, they got the dragon, but not too much considering how badly this could have been for Hillerød.
Absolutely. We did see a little bit of a trade breakout there in the mid lane as Sloth going very low. Meanwhile, the Herald's getting taken up. Throws at the win rule a little bit late.
This matchup's still so difficult for the Yasuo. There's really not very much you can do at all up into the Pantheon without any assistance from the outside. You obviously can use your dashes to get around, but that involves moving forward into the wave, which can make you vulnerable. Now they're going to look for this top lane tower here. Herald's going to come down.
This is the correct way to use Herald, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, use it on a tower that you have a wave with kind of damage. Unfortunately, the last plate will survive. Didn't have enough free time on it. But they still get all those plates in their pocket and pretty comfortable. They can keep applying the pressure in the top lane. Try and take that tower. Chrisberg will get a plate here, but Lockdown is there to respond. And Sloth TP'd in mid. So Nordavind unable to really to find many advantages in response to that play in the top lane. But you do see now that there's no vision really available in Hillerød's own jungle. And Aesthetic and Advian are walking about. See them over here. They're actually contesting his blue buff. Flipper doesn't have vision of them. He doesn't know if it's just Aesthetic. He doesn't know if Advian's there as well. So he's going to dash away.
Oh, that's unlucky.
I mean, he didn't need to use the Winter's Bite there. He chose to throw that.
I mean, he was able to throw out more keys. He wants that mana.
Yeah, I'm sure Aesthetic's really happy about that turn of events. Either way, blue denied. Not really that impactful at all. Because Flipper and Sloth really don't need blue. It's okay for Flipper because it gives cooldown reduction, but it's really, really useless on Yasuo. Because you don't even get cooldown reduction on your Q.
Yep.
That just comes from the attack speed. So you literally only get Wind Wall, ult. I believe that's it. I don't think E gets affected by it either. Or if it does, it's very minor. But either way, cooldown reduction really bad in Yasuo.
I mean,
so
the E already has an insanely low cooldown.
yeah, it really doesn't affect it by much. Either way, Yasuo really not affected much by losing that blue. Flipper, I mean, it's not as minor, but it's really not that much of an issue. You see lots of plates have gone down the top lane. Weezo able to get some alone time, and this largely came from that heavy lean towards the top side. So although the blue wasn't worth that much, the fact that they put so much numbers up there meant Lockerdun had to back off. Although it wasn't even actually Lockerdun who was up there, it was Mokox and Ermin, so they had to back away. Lockerdun had to move up and respond, and they've switched back down to the bot side of the map. So again, potentially looking for this dragon when it spawns. Right now, both junglers passing towards there, but the wave is in a very difficult spot for Chrisberg and Advian. It's frozen just in front of their tower. You can see they're feeling a bit more confident now, Aesthetics here to push up. If a gank comes in here from Flipper and they misplay this, this could be really bad, but Chrisberg doesn't have flash. That's a big critical thing here. Both teams posturing very much. They want to try and secure this dragon, keep chaining them up.
Key thing here is the Grand Starfall's not available to the Niter here. It's Chris both getting jumped onto. That's going to be the charm. That's going to be the knock-up. Let's Bounce is thrown down. Chrisberg goes golden. Mox trying to get that damage back out in return, but Ermin gets something onto Chrisberg in return. Aesthetic looks to try and pump this damage down as a pick up onto the Braum's going to come through. And Niter, no Grand Starfall, just too little, too late. But actually, Flipper gets turned onto here. Seismic Shuffle sending packing. Last breath comes down. Lockerdun still has that teleport to hold for the moment. And Aesthetic will fall here. No, he won't. He flashes away. Sloth throws out a wind wall. But they're chasing. That's the Surf. Mox looking for it. Ermin can get that knock up. If he gets lucky, the flash comes down and Sloth gets himself a kill.
Yeah, really nice play coming out from the side of Hillerød and Nordavind. We just said the bot lane had no flashes. They stood up there because they had Aesthetic backing them up, but he walked away and there was no reason for Chrisberg to still play so aggressively. There was TP advantage for Lockerdun, so even at the end, when Flipper jumped in, there was no chance of a turnaround because Lockerdun could TP to his bloblets, stop him from dying, also providing the Ornn, joining the fight as well. That was a situation when Nordavind had no right to be playing that far forwards, and yet they were. And they paid for it pretty heavily. Gave a couple of kills over to Mokox. Sloth's going to pick it up as well. And although they didn't go for the dragon, they opted for the reset instead. They've now got the gold lead by 600 in this situation. And yeah, Lockerdun's just hammering away at that top lane tower. It's still pretty low as we saw before. He has Demolish.
He's going to get that.
I don't think he has Demolish because...
yeah, it'd be good if he had Demolish. Weezo actually uses the Q to get in, and the Haymaker, and this tower will not fall on this wave.
Still so low.
Oh, unbelievably low. As a knock-up actually comes out, and just jumps away. Aesthetic now has the quickness.
It's big ult to take. Obviously, movement speed huge, but also the charming comes in pretty big. Hillerød, they don't need to set the pace here, though. Hillerød are happy just to sit back and scale up in the later stages of the game because they have so much team fighting power in this composition. They have the Yasuo, who's going to be extremely powerful. The Zac, really easy setup, and then Talia can just sit back and be the backline DPS. Niter really hasn't had the early game we'd hope for. The only kill in the mid lane has been for Sloth. Obviously, he didn't get it from the mid lane. But if you look at how favorable the matchup was towards Niter, and then you look at the scoreline between those two mid laners, that's not what you hope for by taking the Pantheon. That's not what you took that pick to end up with. Looks like Nordavind going to start up that dragon here. A roam is coming down from Weizor, so they will have numbers available.
Gonna land it on to one. That's going to be the next pass. A free man last breath is huge. The Grand Starfall does nothing. That's 3 members down for Nordavind. It is just disgustingly filthy, disgustingly clean, and they're looking for even more here. Weizor uses the suplex and gets a Haymaker off. Ermin's going a little bit low, actually gets him off of the Facebreaker. Shutdown's been picked up. Knight is trying to look to turn this around here, and Weizor's dodging away, but Sloth lands a knock-up, chases him for more. The Haymaker, Weizor! What was the outplay? Oh my lord!
That was a fight that Hillerød won in the first 5 seconds. And then they threw it all away in the last 5. They did not respect the potential of Set. They did not respect the Haymaker shield coming out. Ermin walked into the true damage. Sloth walked into the true damage. I was looking at that fight and I was saying, game's over. Hillerød have won this. And then Nordavind turned it around. Niter and Wazor, the skirmishing power of this Pantheon in this set coming up huge when it was a 2v3 at the end.
Well, Wazor wasn't a problem before, but now he is well and truly a problem.
And Niter just picked up so much gold. I just can't believe you start off a fight with such a great engage, such a great follow-up from Hillerød, and then you still manage to lose it and lose the dragon. So now 2 in the pocket of Nordavind and the gold lead in favor of them as well.
Just biting off way more than they can chew there.
And that's the thing, we talked about how this composition from Hillerød, great answering Chrisberg. I feel like almost every game Chrisberg has played, the enemy team has drafted to make his life difficult. And this one is no different. They have the engage power of this Zac, follow up with the Yasuo ultimate, makes things so hard for this AD carry. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter in that situation. They committed so much onto the Phelios that they just ran out of steam, and yet they still kept going. And I think the target selection was a big factor as well. Sloth splitting up between them, not staying with his team. But ultimately, Hillerød, they didn't go for the dragon. They reset soon, and they'll get this Herald and get the mid tower's return. So this is the payoff.
Fantastic Weaver's Wall, though, there by the Talir to make sure that no one's going to be able to answer right in time while it's being summoned, while it's being set up. Do get themselves first turret blood in the mid lane. Top lane as well, also exceptionally low. Sorry, that wasn't first turret blood because bot lane had fallen already to Wazor. Top lane turret very low for either side, so someone could look to pick this up on either Nordavind or on the side of Hillerød.
And now Lockdown is essentially going to be locked into defend duty this set. Pretty fast at taking towers and happy to sit in the side lane. There's no real response from the 1-3-1 as well. Often having a Yasuo makes you think, oh, well, we'll just put the Yasuo in the side lane, or we'll 1-3-1 to counteract pressure. But Nitra is fine in that situation as well, especially when he has his ultimate to join fights if he needs. Right now, Aesthetic potentially looking for Lockdown here. No MR available for this Ornn. I think he's just going to reset. Was potentially waiting for a counter gank, but nothing going to occur right now.
Yeah, Lockdown smells something amiss. He's just going to head over, clear out this wave and get himself nice and safe. But Wazor, now that Triforce is really doing some serious damage there. Source gets thrown down by Lockdown. He's actually used the Call of the Forge God. Got Flipper to help him. There's still a Haymaker available, and just watch what Wazor can do. That's going to be the Haymaker. Doesn't quite land the true damage. Let's Bounce going to work for a lot of CC here. Uses himself the Showstopper, trying to buy some time. Waiting for his cooldowns to come back up and available. Gets himself a big old knock-up, but he is going to fall down. That's a shutdown for Flipper. Does take 4 members bot side, though, to kill him.
But you could just see Wazor was trying his best, but the tanky members so hard to cut down. The counteract play is Nordavind looking towards top side, and yes, they managed to get that shutdown gold, but they'll lose top lane tower for it. Knight is able to shove this one in and take control, and also Nordavind, a lot of vision secured in this area. So that's the cost of that play. Tower goes down,
yep.
Equalized in that regard. Nordavind still up in gold.
So overall net gain, a lot of resources burnt by Hillerød for a shutdown. On to their jungler as well, onto the Zac. You know, someone who, sure, he'll be able to put that 700 gold into tanky items to make himself a more effective front line, but you'd much rather Mox or Sloth find that 700 gold shutdown. That'd be so big for them. I'm just going to take a quick look at how much gold, yes, we're sitting on. He's got 1,600 gold in his pocket currently, so
I feel like Yasuo is really going to come online in this situation, not when he's on his 2-item spike, but when he's on his 3 or 4-item spike. I think the issue against this composition is he's a little bit too squishy on just 2 items. If he does pick himself up a Seraph's, not Seraph's,
I mean, an odd
Sterix.
item. Yeah.
Sterix or a GA, I think that's when the Yasuo is like, okay, I'm a little bit bulky, I can teamfight effectively. A Bloodthirster would even do it with the extra shielding and the lifesteal. I think 3-4 items is where this Yasuo is going to feel comfortable teamfighting. Obviously, if they get a big combo like we saw before, it doesn't really matter. But I think that's the point where Hillerød just start to default win teamfights as long as they play it reasonably well. And Nordavind have to be concerned. But this is a great flank from Wazor. You can see using the Ocean Soul extra brushes provided to find this angle. If he ults one of the tanks in the team, the AoE damage is just absolutely huge coming out.
Yeah, Lockdown and Flipper, 2 very high priority targets here for Wazor. But for now, he's just going to continue to hide in this brush. Wave gets shoved out by Hillerød. They now move back towards the dragon. They want to get their hands on their first dragon. Remember, if Nordavind can get their hands on this, there'll be one off soul. We're only 20 minutes in. The sweeper's going to get used by Ermin.
Yeah,
he's now finally seen him. Weasel is going to get spotted out. This is just going to be the Ocean giving up, but maybe there's some kind of a fight coming down. They're going to use the knock-up on a Weasel, get a lot of grit stacked up. He is just CC'd before he can do anything. That's an easy pickup for Sloth. And they are just going to get sent packing now. The Weaver's Wall gets used to flash forward. Chrisberg has to flash away. Nice and safe here. Call of the Forge God's going to get thrown down by Aesthetic. Trying to see if he can find some kind of a turnaround, and that's the power of the AP, though. Does do a lot of damage.
I mean, that wasn't really a lot of damage there. And then there's quite enough afforded by Aesthetic.
Look, it's more damage than a normal Ornn ultimate, all right?
True. Although, actually, Aesthetic's level 10, and Lockerdon's past level 11, so probably not.
No, yeah, maybe not.
Due to the extra level in it. You can see, actually, they've pinged out. I think they're just trying to check the Baron. They haven't actually spotted Slot there, but overall successful for Hillerød. They spotted Weasel on the flank. They killed him. Although the team fight afterwards could have been a little bit better. There was a knock-up that potentially... Actually, I think Slot had already used his ult on Weasel, so maybe if he saved it in that situation. But either way, the end result is Hillerød come out hugely ahead. They get the dragon. They get a one-team fight. They're still down in gold. But as it gets later in this game, I'm really going to be favoring them in the team fights. We have the two-item spike for Sloth, so his damage is going to be huge. If he ults on a Chrisberg, guaranteed a crit with that extra damage from the Infinity Edge, likely just to burst him out. But there's still a lot of things that are a little bit concerning. Nita's damage still considerable at this point. Aesthetic has a lot of burst, Weasel as well. So there are situations where Hillerød's team fight can go wrong. If Mokox and Sloth die very quickly, if they miss position, if they miss play, then Nordavind are just dealing with tanks, and they don't really have the damage to cut through them.
Now, one of the things we hit on in the last game was the effectiveness of the Cloud Drake. You hit on the fact that if you got tankier, sorry, the Ocean Soul, sorry. If you got tankier members, it's even better because of the sustainability. That's hard.
This is a much better game for the Ocean Soul. Both teams would benefit from it massively. Zac and Ornn are already incredibly hard to kill. It's going to become more so. You have big bruisers on the side of Nordavind in this set. The Pantheon. I mean, Pantheon's a little less bruisery, as is Silas in his current state, but still, they're going to be bulky. That healing's going to benefit them. Aesthetic trying to dodge away there, but yeah, I think either team getting the Ocean Soul would be a massive asset here compared to last.
Stolen away the quickness here. He's going to get himself the charm. They actually missed out on that Winter's Bite and do catch him off. Fantastic Glacial Fissure. The Graviton will hold him in place, and Chrisberg going to pop out the ultimate, but in jumps Weasel into the backline. Call of the Forge God's going to get used. A Haymaker is absolutely massive as Chrisberg throws down the ultimate. In comes Sloth onto the backline already as Weasel will get picked up, but it's been turned around. A 2-for-1 so far in favor of Nordavind. The health bars are running very, very low. In comes the Grand Starfall. Adavante jumps in forward, and that's going to be a third one picked up. Chrisberg finds it. Adavante looking for one more auto attack on the Flipper for the stun. Unable to do so. Talia and Flipper should be able to clear out this wave, however. Nita needs to be careful. He's a little low, but got a honey fruit to gobble on. They'll be back to some reasonable health.
Definitely favored towards Nordavind. Could have been even more so. Engage actually coming in.
Oh, they're jumping in. Flipper onto that backline. Chrisberg will get CC for a little bit. Adavante doing a lot of damage. The tower shots is going to be enough to get a shutdown in return. Aesthetic will find another. That's a double kill for him. Mid lane turret will crumble. And Nordavind now being teleported onto. We're not done with this fight here. Sloth got that home guard as well. He's looking to run people down. Adavante is just going to have to flash the wall. And Sloth teleport for flash. Didn't find himself that kill, though.
What a team fight win for Nordavind. And Jake, I just have one question for you. Who is Adavante?
Oh, my admin.
I'm saying it. I'm like, who is Adavante? There's no one in this game.
For anyone who's just tuned in, I've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to get a flight out here to Sweden. I haven't slept. I've genuinely thought I wasn't going to make my flight because of the bloody storm. I'm here. I am very, very tired right now. If I called the team by the wrong name, that's my excuse for today. I'll come up with a new one for tomorrow.
Say it with me. Advian.
Advian.
There we go.
There we go.
Easy as pie.
All right, while we're on it, how do we... Is it
I just say Moxox.
Moxox. Yeah. If we're wrong, let us know on Twitter. hit brain or AWP.
Yeah, if we're slightly wrong, obviously we know sometimes Jake gets it horrifically wrong. We are aware of that.
Who is Adamante? Is that like an airline?
I don't know.
It said it's like an airline or something.
I thought it was like adamantium from like X-Men. I was like, where are you going with this?
It's actually a thing. I just don't know what it is. Hopefully it's not a rude thing. That'd be real bad.
Either way. Anyway, setting up for Dragon. Nordavind up in gold by quite a margin after that last fight, 3,000. And Summoner's down. In particular for Moxox, doesn't have his flash. That's definitely going to be an issue. Chrisberg's just coming up and engage.
Oh, Aesthetic has stolen away the Forge God. Flipper doesn't pull the trigger there. They do get a knock up on a Wiser, but he's got those honey fruits to keep himself nice and healthy.
Now, I love Chrisberg's position here in this brush. They don't have vision, so hard to make an engage.
Yeah,
not coming out to
he's
zone.
looking to try and get it off. This is out on that. Now Flipper takes this as an opportunity. Big ultimate though as Flipper's going low. The Dragon's being picked up, stolen away by Ermin. And a killer's already been picked up on the side of Hillerød. Knight is doing his best to stay in that backline, but Flipper is just running a nuisance for the side of Nordavind. That's going to be the haymaker. And Nordavind, he is just out of there. Chrisberg's trying to pump some kind of damage over the wall, but it's just a clean team fight for Hillerød.
I was watching that fight. Chrisberg untouched, also doing no damage in that situation. Just could not cut through these tanks. And in the mid game, on 2 items, these tanks feel unkillable, and there's just nothing they can do. The Bruisers, Nita, Aesthetic, Wazor, they get churned down, they get chunked out. But Chrisberg, despite not being threatened at all, the only time anyone got close was when Sloth threw a wind wall up in his face. Just isn't able to cut through this front line. And it means the Baron is going to go in the favor of Hillerød. Their team fight's so formidable.
But you got the Molten Edge finished up onto Sloth.
I mean, these are big spikes.
Fire cape here for Lockton.
I think they're big spikes, and I think fundamentally front-to-back team fights favor Hillerød so much. Your front line is so beefy. You have the wind wall to contribute as well. I think Nordavind need a better angle, and they need to look to just pick off Moxox or Sloth. They need to try and assassinate them. They didn't, and that is the result. And now the goal lead, which was 3,000 in Nordavind's favor, equalized. Baron buff as well in Hillerød's pocket, and they're on 2 dragons, so working towards that soul. But already, just Oceans kicking in for tanks can be so significant. It's percentage HP, so more valuable for tanks like Lockett-Dunn and Flipper.
Pop quiz. What is the upgraded Zhonya's Hourglass called? I just had to look it up because I genuinely didn't know the name of it.
I was watching LCK earlier, and they mentioned it there, so I know it. It's Zhonya's Rolex.
Yes. Do you actually know the name?
No.
Paradox. Zhonya's Paradox.
Oh, okay. No, I just Atlas said it. He was like
Zhonya's Rolex is actually such a swag
It sounds
name.
so much better as well.
All right, we need to come up with you got the Gucci cape for the Sunfire cape. Not feeling it?
No. Zhonya's Rolex was better.
Well, yeah, but we're coming up with designer brand names for these items now. Who would make a sword?
I don't know. I don't regularly buy swords. I was studying League of Legends.
I'm saying what brand?
I was studying League of Legends while you studied the blade.
I'd be hopeless with a sword.
I would be...
Sloth is not hopeless with a sword, though.
Yeah,
he's pretty
keeping
good with it.
a significant distance if you had a sword. But anyway, Baron buff, very hard to deal with. Engage tools from Nordavind. I mean, realistically, you need a TP flank or you need Nita ulting in behind. I mean, the alternative is Aesthetic steals away good ult, but it's very difficult. Oh, Gage coming in.
He's looking for one, doesn't find it, and actually looks to turn it around here from Flipper.
They wanted to pick, unable to find it. And the thing is, I feel like these team fights, if you can't get to Moxox or Sloth, this Talia, this Yasuo, you're just not going to win for Nordavind. 5v5 so hard to play out. It's like the wave clear is going to come in, but Hillerød already rotating towards the top side. They're breaking through these towers outside the base. A lot of standing gold left available. And with that first Baron able to pick all those up. And normally the metric I measure is on your first Baron, you're able to get all the remaining towers outside the base. It's this, and that's a sort of like, that's a decent expectation. Anything worse, you've kind of misplayed it. Anything better, and you've sort of gotten more than you could have asked for. Gage comes in, they actually take out Lockett-Dunn.
Yeah, but they are going to lose their turret here, or are they? Teleport's coming down. Okox is going to do a fair amount of damage. Weasel comes in, seismic shove onto him, uses himself the ultimate, but Sloth just cuts him down. Aesthetic is very, very low. Knockout goes a little bit wide by Sloth, but he has himself a vampire acceptor. He's healing like an absolute beast right now. A two-man knockout comes out, and Sloth uses the last breath onto the backline. Chrisberg is being launched onto, but he's having to jump away for the moment. Mox is able to get himself a kill as well, as they do jump in. Flipper trying to get that damage out. Advian will fall. It's a double kill for Mox. And now they're just looking for a inhibitor in the top lane.
Look at the stacks he has in his Crescendum. He's able to cut through anyone who comes near, and they cannot push anymore. Flipper went down so fast there, they have to respect it. The Crescendum has expired in terms of ammo. But overall, Hillerød, they exceeded expectations. Not only did they get the Adder Towers, they broke the base, they got an inhibitor. They're heading straight over towards that dragon. And that inhibitor is going to respawn about the same time that the Dragon Soul will spawn. And that pressure is still going to be in place. So definitely concerning for Nordavind. Now the gold's still in favor of Hillerød by about 3,000. But they did give over a couple of shutdowns here and there to the side of Nordavind. But this dragon, there's the taking. No real contest going to come out.
2,400 gold into Mox as well.
Crispig might try to steal this with his ult. He has the Infernum, doesn't get there in time. But they are looking for Lockerdon.
He's just come back from the dead. Knight has used the ultimate showstopper.
Oh, the stun.
Everything gets layered down, and Chrisberg finds himself a kill onto Lockton. 0 and 5.
He's not been having fun this game. He has been bearing the brunt of Nordavind's frustrations, not just at this game, but at this split as well. He's been enduring it. And I think now with numbers advantage on the map, Nordavind can push out, they can get some control, but there's no objectives for them to take. There's nothing they can... There's no dragons, no barons available at the moment. Baron is in a minute though, so they could set up vision control for that. I think that should be the criteria. This downed inhibitor being near the baron does favor them, because it means it's not very difficult to deal with. It's not pulling someone to the other side of the map. And you can see Weizor just hammering away at the waves.
See, Sloth actually opted in to the Death Dance. Not the Bloodthirst of it you were thinking. Obviously, it does give him some decent sustain tools there.
It's a nice burst as well. I think is a big factor. And you don't need it stacked up. Unlike the Bloodthirster, you need some alone time with the wave to stack up the Bloodthirster. I think the side lane Bloodthirster definitely better in team fights, situational, but I think I can understand the reasoning behind the Death Dance.
Also, you combine the fact that Sloth has that with his Phantom Dancer. He's going to be really... You can't actually burst him out, which means Sloth will have time to be able to ramp up, lifesteal his way back into the fight, and let to run your ways. Flipper uses the elastic slingshot forward, but
Flipper kind of find it flopping there. Do you see them posturing, potentially looking for a pick here? This is a blind engage.
Yeah, he's looking for it though. Aesthetic will get caught. Tries to find himself another one. The Call of the Forge Squad's going to get thrown down, and that's the last breath. That is Aesthetic going down as the Crescendo Malta comes in. They've got a lot on here. This is a big turnaround potentially here. Chrisberg remains unstopped for the moment, and they are cutting through the health bars. Hillerød are running so low. Chrisberg still has so much damage to work with. He's found himself one, but he's got no one standing in front of him now, and that will be the kill. Hillerød turn it back around. Knight are the only one standing, and he just has to run back towards his base. There's minions onto his turrets already, and Hillerød, they took that team fight. It was looking a little dicey for them, but they're able to pull it back.
The timers are so long, and Knight's just too low. He wants to clear the wave, but he has to go to base. We have 10 seconds in Aesthetic. They'll get this Nexus Tower, but I think they'll stop after this.
Well, they've still got a tank, though. Lockton can tank this for them. Knighter jumps in forward. He's just trying to buy some time. Throws up the Unbreakable for the moment. Aesthetic looks to close in here. Does have his ultimate available as well. He can steal away. Gets himself a quickness. Lockton underneath that tower. Uses the Bellows Breath. Misses out on the Chain Lash, though. And the Mox and Omen are going to be able to take themselves this inhibitor turret in the mid lane. They do not end the game here. Nordavind do just about hold on. Now Chrisberg has picked himself up the Infinity Edge and another Zeal. 100% crit. He has to really put this game on his back now.
And you can see he was trying to do so much damage in that fight, but his front line just weren't holding up nearly as well as Hillerød's were. Yes, Weizor can do so much damage in disruption, but it's so difficult when this Ornn and this Zac are just so bulky. And it's a minute 40 until the Ocean Soul. If Hillerød get this, it's going to become even more difficult to cut through these tanks who get so much healing every time they proc it.
And I couldn't think of a more perfect team fight for Chrisberg there. He remained untouched. He stood at the back of his tanks, and he was just free-firing away with the Hurricane onto 3 members every auto attack. And he still just did not have the damage to cut through them. Bases are coming in here. Lockett looking to spend some gold. Everybody's going to stock up here because the next team fight could well decide this game. We are 1 minute off the Ocean Drake. And you feel this is going to be the next point of contention, the last stand here for Nordavind if they want to keep themselves in this game.
So Hillerød put a ton of vision control on the Baron, so it can't just be snuck away while they're on the bot side of the map. You can see Nordavind scared to push out of their base right now. Their inhibitor has respawned. As I said, it will be pretty close to that dragon timing.
Svetic's used the quickness, but just so he can reset the cooldown on his hijack. Wants to try and get himself a Call of the Forge God.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best one. I think stealing away Flipper's Let's Bounce is also pretty solid. Gage comes in.
Looking to get something here, but they're not going to find it. Good face breaker by Chris Berg. As a Svetic, he's been zoned away. He's taking the long route back to his team. So for the moment, there's a numbers advantage here in the mid lane.
And Hillerød just want to maintain pressure. They want to keep Nordavind trapped in their base, so they can't contest any vision towards this dragon. There is a ward on it.
Oh, Flipper jumps in. It's onto Wazor though. Seismic Shove doesn't find its mark, and a Haymaker onto Flipper.
So if you actually look close to the minimap, or if you fly over to the Dragon Pit, there is a ward on it from Nordavind. So they do have vision. They know when it's going to be started up. They are going to clear that Scrying Trinket out, but this Dragon's
Weaver's
gone.
Wall.
Yeah, that was a good Weaver's Wall, denying them.
Completely blocked Chris Berg off. Now we were talking about the power of the Ocean Drake into the tanks.
Bear in mind, there's no grievous wounds on the side of Nordavind. Engage.
Big ultimate comes in from Wazor. They still don't have their AD carry here yet, but the health bars are low. Chris Berg joins in. He's got that Infernum. He's got a lot of damage, but Sloth straight onto the back line is going to zone Chris Berg away. Flipper's doing his best to keep Chris Berg out of that fight, and Knight is going down. It's a double kill for Mox. Chris Berg has to make a miracle happen, but he can't do anything. Flipper is just so tanky. He flashes away. He's got himself the damage, but he can't do anything to anyone here. He's having a rough game. He's getting taken down. It's the full ace in Nordavind. They can do nothing anymore. The death timers are too long. Sloth is onto the inhibitor, and this should just be game.
And Flipper just looked like the Terminator there, just walking at Chris Berg, and there was nothing he could do. He was taking no damage. It felt like his health trickling down. The team fights won. Hillerød had the stronger 5v5. They got the Ocean Soul, and Nordavind, they were the favorites coming in the split. They are not looking like the favorites right now as Hillerød take them down and take down the Nexus.
That was just a very clean game there. It was not as clean as our first game. I think we have to give them that. The 27-18 was the kills there, but gold lead in favor of Hillerød. Team fights just every time, just so cleanly executed.
It just felt like once again the win condition was on the mid jungle. We needed Nita to pop off. And although they had some nice skirmishes, we saw them come out of the laning phase with Sloth and Nita, even in CS.
Yeah.
No real difference in sort of kills and deaths. And it was just like, at that point, I was getting a bit concerned because this Pantheon isn't there for the late game. And then as it got later and later, even though you see the Aphelios ramping up, there's just nothing you can do. Even at the end when Wazor gets like a 700 damage Haymaker across all the front line, it just doesn't matter.
And Chris Berg with the Infernum just auto-attacking through everyone, and their health bars are going up, not down. It's just, what do you do?
Yeah, the Ocean Soul pretty powerful. I feel like they should have tried to contest them before that. But the problem is they just lacked engage. Their main primary engage was relying on either a flank or Aesthetic stealing away the Forge God. And I feel like that's too precarious because you're waiting for when it's available. It's not always going to be the cooldown way longer for Silas than it is for the Ornn.
Yeah, and also the Weaver's Walls from Mox were always really big because every time there was like, oh, maybe they could find that flank, Weaver's Wall goes up, no opportunity to contest.
And I think
so clean.
They were waiting for the chance to fight at the Dragon and they didn't get it. And then they just started fight anyway. And I think that was the mistake because if you fight them at Baron, at least the Baron is applying the debuff, you know? It's making magic damage do more to them, which isn't really that impactful with your team comp. It's only really aesthetic, but it's chipping them down a little. I mean, to be honest, I'm theory crafting this. I think it was just doomed. Once they got the Ocean Soul, once they're grouped up as 5, when you have no grievous wounds, I mean, you could just see the damage that just wasn't coming out. Chris Berg was just hammering away. And his Zack's just running at him. Just healing everything.
We saw 2 fights where it was the AD carry's dream. Everyone's in front of you and you're just free auto-attacking, but he just wasn't doing anything.
League of Tanks.
League of Tanks, unfortunately. And that will mean that Hillerød able to take themselves a win over Nordavind. Nordavind now 1-4 here.
And I think the big thing that's consistently happened for Nordavind is they've been relying on their mid laner doing well early.
Yeah.
And they've been playing into situations where it's hard for Crispberg. We've had the composition where it was the Jarvan comboed with the Gangplank and the Ziggs, and they just pressed R on Crispberg, and they all pressed the ultimates, and he died. There was this situation where you just couldn't do any damage at all, and it felt like Crispberg was just standing there watching these tanks take no damage. And I think a lot of the teams who've drafted against Nordavind, something that I've favored really heavily in the Nordics, which has been working out a lot, is ease of execution. You pick a composition that team fights well, that scales pretty well, but also doesn't give up the early game. You're good to go.
Yeah.
I feel like these teams who are, we want this complicated, we want a very aggressive mid jungle that spikes at this point. We need this, we need that. We need to sort of have this approach angle. With this as our win condition, if you miss it, it's done. It's difficult. Whereas you have these teams which are like, if we do well bot, great. If we don't, we still have great team fighting.
Yeah,
and I feel like when there's a lot of mistakes coming in, these teams are the ones who sort of pull out ahead.
I think ease of execution is going to be the key thing for our next game. It's going to be Bifrost versus the undefeated team Singularity. So we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back with that's the game. So don't go anywhere. See you in a second.